Hello and a good morning, good afternoon and a very good evening to you. We're going to people of the tube. Hope you're today, hope you are feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hello there everybody. Today's vid, everybody, is another one of my Guitar Hero vids, if you will. I did one a while back on Mr. Dave Murray. Today's vid will be focusing on the legendary one and only Mr. Mike McCready of Pearl Jam. And Mad Season, and Shadow, and Walking Papers, and who else have we got in there? Temple of the Dog, you know, and any other of these kind of projects he's involved with, because he's involved in a lot of things, but mainly Pearl Jam has been his mainstay. Anyway, so yeah, so this video is all about Mike. I want to talk about how I got into him, you know, how I discovered him, you know, kind of what I've taken away from him and this and the other. So I'm going to start this video, people of YouTube, with a very bold statement. Okay, now brace yourselves for this one. Okay, so I think personally, and I feel now, having watched Mike, because I knew I was going to do this video, I've been kind of having a massive Pearl Jam binge and stuff like that. And I've been really kind of getting like diving into that stuff again. I mean, not that I don't dive into it anyway. I listen to Pearl Jam and played Pearl Jam all the time, but I've been, from an analytical point of view, I don't do that. But I've been doing that recently, kind of like really analysing Mike, which is what I did when I first got into it. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to say this, people of the tube, okay? So not only do I not mention Mike enough as a massive influence on me, I would say that next to John Frusciante, Mike is probably my biggest influence, even above Jimi Hendrix. Above Rory Gallagher and above Peter Green, there's John Frusciante and there's Mike McCready. Now, that's a pretty bold statement, I think, but I think it's true. And especially looking over the last couple of days and really listening to Mike, I've taken a lot from him. And there's a lot of his playing in my playing. You know what I mean? Same with John Frusciante. There's a lot of John's playing in my playing because that's who I want to sound like the most, you know. But Mike's in there as well. You know, not as much as John, but he's definitely in there as in second place. You know what I mean? I would say Jimi Hendrix has been moved to third place, just through what I've kind of learned over the last couple of days. Well, figured out and just kind of like understood a bit more. So that's an interesting statement, people too. But I believe that's totally true because, especially, you know, my fast kind of playing. It's all Mike McCready's kind of stuff, really. Because Mike is a very... He's got all these kind of like really cool kind of fast pentatonic runs. Kind of, you know, Mike does stuff like that quite a lot. You know, especially in kind of like, you know, crazy solos like, you know, Alive, Even Flow and stuff like that. You know, he'll do that kind of thing. You know, and he's a very pentatonic guy, Mike. He doesn't really move a great deal outside of the boxes. He's straight and he's a rock guitarist. You know what I mean? It's just straight ahead awesomeness. And but I've got so much from him from that. And again, it finally dawned on me who the governor is on my pedal board, because like I say, I mean, the jackhammer to me is John Frusciante, the DS2 is John Frusciante, the fuzz is Jimi Hendrix, the wah's John. I've got delays. My short delay is Dave Murray. My long delay is kind of like some kind of crazy thing. Reverse is, you know, Jimi Hendrix. But I've never really found a place for the governor to sit. You know, who am I modelling the governor on? And it dawned on me totally the other day when I was listening to 10. It's Mike McCready's tone from 10. That's who the governor is. It's that kind of thing. So that's where that's come from. That's another influence on me. And like I say, it's a massive influence on me, especially this kind of fast playing. Like, because Mike will do these kind of like really awesome bends and then just kind of go, whoa, they're crazy, and then kind of like come back to slow. And that's where I'm getting these kind of bursts of speed from. Because for the longest time I was thinking, is that Gary Moore? Because Gary did that as well. But, because Gary would like do bends and then just, and then kind of like do that kind of thing. But it never really, it sounded like Gary Moore to me. And I was like, no. And then over the last couple of days, I've been really analytical with Mike. I'm like, it's Mike McCready. And I'm like, Mike should be the first person I mention after John Frusciante from now on. And if I don't start doing that, then I'm doing him a disservice for his influence on me. So, and I've always loved Mike. Anyway, so there you go, people of YouTube. That's a big statement, but I do believe that's true. So, in theoretical terms now, not theoretical terms at all, in the actual terms of it all, like it's John Frusciante, Mike McCready, and Jimi Hendrix, and then Rory Gallagher, Peter Green, Dave Murray, Gary Moore, Paul Kossoff, so on and so forth. But Mike's right up there. He has to be. And it's crazy. It's absolutely mad. When I really start to look at it, I'm like, there's so much of him in me. I have taken so much of his playing. It's crazy. And kind of like twisted it and bent it and kind of like, forced it into kind of like John Frusciante and Jimi Hendrix and Peter Green and Rory Gallagher kind of style. It's always kind of mush, but he's definitely still in there. So, I know, I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a minute. So I want to talk now about how I got into Mike, how I found Mike. Okay, so it was either the first or second year of me playing guitar. I forget exactly which one it was, but it was one of those. I haven't been playing long, I know that much. But anyway, a work friend of Dad, he bought a CD round for me. Obviously, I just started playing guitar, so I was getting kind of a lot of encouragement from people. And he bought round Pearl Jam 10 for me to listen to. So I put Pearl Jam 10 on and listened to, Once, Even Flow, Alive, Why Go. And I was like, nah, I wasn't underwhelmed by it. It was cool, but it didn't do anything for me. I was a bit like, nah, it's not really doing much there. I've dropped my plectrum. Give me a sec, people on tube. I need that because if I do examples. So I was like, yeah, it's cool, and Why Go solo started with this, which I immediately wanted to know how to do, but kind of like didn't think about that at the time. So this must have been the second year of playing guitar because it was guitar solos. Yes, second year of me playing guitar. Okay, so anyway, listening to that album, it didn't really do much for me straight off the bat. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't kind of one of those, well, it wasn't immediate, let's put it that way. And then the song Black rolled round. Now, I can't play it, unfortunately, but I am going to do an outro jam inspired by. But can you guess who the intro jam was inspired by? Anyway, so Black rolled round, and all of a sudden I was just like pulled in. Just totally, get in here, boy. And I was just like, what was that? And I immediately remember trying to learn it, and I couldn't learn it because I wasn't very good at that time. And about a year and a bit into playing, nearly 2 years into playing, I wasn't the best guitarist, so I couldn't figure things out by ear by that point, and I just didn't know how to do it. And I couldn't go online and get tabs or anything like that, and YouTube didn't exist, so I couldn't do any of that. So it was just kind of like I just kind of left it. So anyway, I didn't really listen to the album again after that. I listened to the rest of the album, going on to kind of like, through, Jeremy, Ocean, Garden, so on and so forth. And I kind of didn't really listen to it again. I was kind of set in my ways with Green Day, Offspring, Guns N' Roses. I was kind of like that kind of thing, I didn't really listen to Pearl Jam again. Anyway, that same work friend of Dad's, he gave me a VHS video of loads of live concerts he had taped onto VHS off kind of like Kerrang, MTV when that used to play music, and stuff like that, or off these kind of like Sky channels where you'd get live gigs. And on that video, I've still got the video. There was kind of like there was a Green Day gig, which is obviously the reason I wanted that. I loved that video is because I was into Green Day. So there was Green Day, there was Offspring on there, there was Rage Against the Machine. Who else was there on there? I can't think of anybody else on there. But there was Pearl Jam, and there was 2 gigs of Pearl Jam. There was one of Pearl Jam live at Rock Am Ring in about early 2000s. I forget the exact year of it. I might look it up in a sec. And it was only a partial gig of theirs. So there was like not Why Go. There was Go, Wishlist, Daughter, Evolution, Do the Evolution, and Alive. That's the only songs on that video. And after that live Rock Am Ring gig, there was Pearl Jam live and Unplugged in New York gig, the Unplugged gig they did. Where they start with State and Love and Trust on the video they did, and then there was kind of like Even Flow. No, there wasn't Even Flow. There was Alive. There was, I don't think there was even Black on it actually. There wasn't many songs. Anyway, he had taped these onto VHS video, and he lent me it to watch because back in YouTube didn't exist. So this is the first time I had seen Pearl Jam and seen them play. So this is the first time I'd seen Mike play as well, because on the Rock Am Ring gig, there's some really cool close-ups of him doing solos and stuff, especially in the live, and Daughter. So, and Wishlist as well, actually. His solo for Wishlist is just beautifully gorgeous. It's just so perfect. Anyway, I digress. So, remember watching this video, and again, not being particularly kind of like, taken aback by it. There was Green Day, you know what I mean? There was an hour and a half gig of Green Day later on the video. I'll wait to watch that more. Pearl Jam was at the beginning, Green Day was in the middle. So I remember kind of like watching it a few times, but I just didn't get anything from it. There was nothing that was sticking out to me. But for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I was compelled to keep listening because of Black. It was the song Black that kind of kept me listening. And it's funny how all of a sudden things started to turn. And all of a sudden I really loved Alive and Wishlist and then Even Flow and then Once and then other songs, Daughter. And I was like, actually I really love this. Yeah, I really, really love this. And I love that guitarist, Mike. I love his guitar playing. I love his guitar tone. I like it. I like the way way he moves. I like the way he looks. I like his Stratocaster. Just like, this is cool. I like this. And eventually, I just fell in love with them. Absolutely fell in love with Pearl Jam and that 10 and that live footage of them. And that was it, really. It was, and it literally probably only took about a week or so for that to happen. From getting this video, it didn't take long. It didn't take like years for me to fall in love with it. It took like a week or so. Anyway, I remember watching that video every day and watching him do the Alive solo and just being absolutely entranced by him, because he plays the first solo behind his head, like I tried to do in the intro, and the second solo's extended. And I was just like, this is just incredible. I love this. And he was the guitarist who made me want to be able to do this. That was the thing. Because he does it a lot. Mike does that a lot. It's a great rock lick. There's all those... absolutely speedy up and down the pentatonic scale. In that way Mike does. Only Mike does it in his certain way. He's got his own little voice for that. Anyway, so I became massively obsessed with him. And again, my first image of him is wearing these kind of like, I don't know, kind of check trousers, black shirt, and blonde hair with his 59 Strat. Well, we now know it's the 60s, but, it could be 59 appointments, but that's another video. But we'll talk about that at the end anyway. We'll talk about guitars later. But that was my first image of him. There was Sunburst Strat that was battered and beaten like John Frusciante's. So I was immediately like, oh, it's like John Frusciante's. Anyway, I just became a bit obsessed with him and started to learn his solos, like Alive, Daughter, stuff like that. Anyway, and I've never realised how much of my tone, my governor tone, comes from Mike. That all that kind of fast playing, that's just out of Mike McCready's book. That's what that is. That's so cool. I love that. You know what I mean? And I like the fact I'm starting to mix. I've mixed Mike with John Frusciante and Jimi Hendrix and Rory Gallagher and people like that. I like that. But they're, like I say, John Frusciante and Mike are right up there now. So I just became obsessed with him. And I remember I learned near enough all the album Pearl Jam 10. And I learnt Black, obviously, and like a load of other songs as well. And just becoming like, just like a McCready, a McCreadyite, if that's even a word. So, and he just pulled me in, guitar tone and everything, guitar playing, the way he was on stage, the way he runs around, plays guitar behind his head. He's really awesome. And the way he gets lost in solos as well, I absolutely adore that. You just see him, the eyes close and he just goes. And then and his interaction with the crowd, it's wicked, absolutely love it. So anyway, YouTube becomes a thing. And all of a sudden, you know, at any given moment, you can just type in videos and find live footage of a band. I was in this very room when I looked up Pearl Jam Black live. I pretty much sat probably exactly where I am now. My computer used to be here. And Live in Pink Pop came up in 1992 of them doing Black. Now, to me, that version is the quintessential version of Black for me. And also Mike's, to me, the best solo that I've ever seen Mike do in Black. And he start like he's doing his kind of melody bit, which I can't do. But anyway, you hear him kick on his wah-wah pedal, and he hits this note. That. And every time I hear it, it nearly brings me to tears. Because Black is a really personal song for me. I'm sure it is for a lot of people as well. But especially the last verse of Black. I know someday you'll have a beautiful life. I know you'll be a star, but in somebody else's sky, but why can't it be mine? Those lyrics mean so much to me. I have those lyrics on the wall in my room. They've been on my wall for the best part of 17 years. Well, not even about 17 years now. So because they just mean the world to me. Those that especially that last verse, but that entire song means the world to me. But that version of Pearl Jam in '92 is just, you know, just got me. And Mike's playing his kind of like yellow Stratocaster that kind of went through so many different iterations. It had a rosewood neck on it at some point. Started off as like a 50s reissue, I think, and then it just kind of got battered and beaten. I don't know what happened to it eventually, but that's my favourite Mike's guitar. It's my favourite of Mike's guitars, and I don't know anything about it. But anyway, but when I heard that version of Black, I was just like, oh my god. You know what I mean? And I immediately had a hankering for a yellow Stratocaster, which I ended up getting, but that's not important. But it's just his playing is so expressive and emotive in that solo, and in general, I was just like, it just took me to the next level of kind of like, this is it. You know what I mean? So I just fell in love with even more so. So yeah, so that was it. You know what I mean? I was just kind of sold then, really. And I was just like, I love Mike's tone in that gig as well. It's amazing. And Mike's tone in general, I've always liked it. You know, there's just something really, really cool about it. But really appeals to me. It really appeals to me. Anyway, but yeah, so that's how I got into Mike. And that's kind of like how he's wormed his way into my kind of influences. Like I say, it wasn't an immediate thing. It wasn't like John Frusciante, where all of a sudden, bang, there you go, you've got a hero. You know, Mike, it took a bit of time. Didn't take loads of time, but it still took a bit of time. You know what I mean? But as soon as he came along, that was it. You know what I mean? I just became kind of like, you know, I'm still hugely obsessed with him to this day. And he's one of those guitarists that I would love to meet, that I know I never will, but I would love to at some point, you know, but it's never going to happen. Same with John Frusciante. You know, it's not going to happen, but one can dream. But anyway, I was just, you know, just loved it. Just took in as much as I could of his style, and obviously I didn't realise how much I'd taken in of his style. Anyway, people of YouTube, I'm waffling, I do apologise about that. So let's talk about Mike's gear quick then. So, back in the day, Mike was mainly a Strat. Mike's always been mainly a Strat and a Les Paul guy. You know, in the early days, in the Pearl Jam 10 era, you know, you see him with, he's got a 62 reissue that looks like this. He's got his cream yellow Stratocaster with a maple neck. He also had like a cherry sunburst Les Paul as well. I don't think that's a reissue. I think that's just a standard of the time, like a 90s standard, which basically got a bit of a beating. I know, in fairness, I don't know what guitar of Mike's doesn't get a beating, to be honest with you. I know the black Strat they had for the 10 era, that he smashed that. The cream one, I don't know what happened to that one, but I can imagine he smashed that one as well. The Les Paul got broken as well. Mike's been through a lot of guitars, but he does have mainstays. But I'm the main era of me that loves Mike is the Pearl Jam 10 era. So you've got you got two Stratocasters and the Les Paul. You've got JSM 800. You've got a Fender Bassman for clean. You've got the Ernie Ball Pan Pot volume pedal, Roto Vibe, and you've got a Vox wah-wah pedal, and you've got a Sansamp distortion pedal, and that's it. And I really like the way Pearl Jam ran their setups back in the day in 1990, in the early 90s, 92, and it kind of stretched into 93-ish, kind of, but things kind of changed a bit. Is what they would do is they would run one amp for clean and one amp for distortion, Mike and Stone. They both did the same thing, but Stone used a Fender Twin for his clean, whereas Mike used a Fender Bassman. So what they did is they would run both amps, JSM 800 with distortion, Bassman for clean. They'd run both amps into this Ernie Ball volume pedal, which was a pan pedal. So when it was all the way back, it was just a Fender amp. And as you increase that pedal, it brings in more of the Marshall. So when it's all the way forward, you've just got the Marshall, and the Fender is no longer in kind of like, it's no longer getting fed a signal. It takes it away. But you could kind of wedge it somewhere between, where you got the grunt of a Marshall and the cleanliness of the Fender, which is super cool. I like the idea of that, so you can kind of blend the two. And, at a moment's notice, you could just like flick it backwards and forwards. But that's how they ran that. And Mike also had a Sansamp distortion pedal, which I believe went through both amplifiers. It certainly looks like it goes through both amps, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. And I'm not sure 100% on what the pedal is either. I know it's a Sansamp distortion, but that's about as far as it goes. Anyway, so from there, it went into the Dunlop Roto vibe, which, again, is all over the album 10 and all over live gigs of Pearl Jam in 1992. You can hear the Roto vibe everywhere. Mike would use that a lot. So, and then it goes into a Vox Silvertop wah-wah pedal. Mike went on later to use a Crybaby and stuff like that, but the early years, it's a Vox Silvertop. So, and that's it. That's all Mike had. It was very, very simple. 2 amplifiers for clean and dirty, a distortion pedal, a volume pedal for selecting which amp, a Roto Vibe wah-wah, and that's your lot. Obviously, Mike's setup, as it went on through the years, expanded and got a lot bigger. There's all sorts of stuff at one point. He started to use Savage amps. I've seen him using Savage. There's Union Jack now. There's the divided by 13s. There's all sorts of amps he uses now and then. But there's always a Marshall in there somewhere. With Mike, it's normally a small box 50-watt plexi that Mike uses invariably. Fenders, you see him with Fender Bassmans, and I've seen him with a Fender, I think it's a Showman head, but it's never on stage, it's off stage. But yeah, so he uses a lot of stuff, Mike does, but mainly when it comes down to it, he's got 2 guitars, which are Les Pauls and Stratocasters. Does have a Telecaster, but mainly, it's a Strats and Tele kind of Strat and Les Paul kind of guy. And he's known for his 59/60s Stratocaster, the technically 2-tone Sunburst Strat with all the wear absolutely beaten to death. He's also got a 50s Strat, which is absolutely gorgeous, and he's also renowned for his 59 Les Paul as well, which I think he's got 2 of them now. And they're just, it's just super cool. And but he's just kind of like a straightforward rock guitarist, Strat, Tele, Les Paul, Marshalls, Fenders, that kind of thing. It's very straightforward. There's no kind of like thing there, and also just kind of like the way he plays, he's just very, very pentatonic kind of thing. But he's got amazing technique, and he's super fast. He's got amazing technique, and it's just so cool. Anyway, so that's it really. That's what he uses. He's just a very meat and potatoes rock guitarist, but it's great, and that's what's cool about it. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. I don't know why, but I've got a horrible fear, like the fear that I always get, where I'm just like just waffling on, and like you say, like that voice saying, "Shut up, Dave, you're boring people." So I'm trying to fight that. Anyway, so that's basically where I am. But I say my favourite period of Mike, like I say, is at 1992. That's the era I've spent the most kind of learning from, so to say. I do love all the other eras of Mike as well. I love the man in general, but 1992 era Mike is my favourite. It just is cool. And I remember I always wanted his hair, especially they did a gig. They played Saturday Night Live. And Mike's playing a red Stratocaster. It's not Fiesta red. It's just it's the sparkly red one. I forget what it's called. Oh God, that's bad, isn't it? I used to have one. Anyway, but he's playing like a red Strat. I don't think it's on YouTube anymore, unfortunately. But anyway, him and Stone have the same haircut. They got long straight hair, and they've got it kind of like semi up in a ponytail. And I always wanted that hairstyle, but I couldn't have it because my hair started to fall out. Anyway, moving along. It's not about hair, but there's just something about that era that just really sticks to me. And if you want to reference people with tube, where's my phone? I need to make sure I get the title. So, if you want kind of like anything to giggle at, there's a Pearl Jam song. It's kind of like a B-side off 10 called, is it 2000 Mile Blues? Hang on a minute. I'm just going to look it up for you because I can't even spell. Okay, one sec. Yeah, 2000 Mile Blues. Okay, so that is the song that made me go, that's my that's I can hear me in there, if that makes any sense. So if you want to look up, people with YouTube, 2000 Mile Blues by Pearl Jam, the solos especially, that tone he's got in that is just immense, and there's a lot of me in there, although I've taken it from him, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So anyway, my brain's starting to falter, so I'm going to have to call it to an end soon. But yeah, but like I said, I mean, looking at songs like that and looking at other songs and looking at his sound and just in general, I am definitely more and more convinced every day now, like since I've started looking at this from an analytical point of view, that Mike is my biggest influence next to John. No ifs, no buts, definitely. So let me show you a couple of little kind of my favourite Mike trills. The main trill that I love of Mike is that one. And that's a trill that I always wanted to know how to do, but no one around me could figure out, and it took me years to be able to do this. Well, I think it took me about 3 years to figure this out, to know how to do this. Because again, when I first started playing, there's no one around me who could tell me how to do that. So let me move the camera in a bit closer. Let me show you some of my favourite Mike McCready kind of like things to do, which is super cool. Okay, so the first little Mike trill I want to show you is that one, which is kind of basically like, you know, Mike does that a lot, and you can hear it on Why Go, the intro to Why Go. The solo is just insanely good. I mean, what an amazing start to a solo. So, super cool. So what you're doing here is you're bending up the G string on the 14th fret. We're in the key of E minor. Bending up the E string on the 14th fret. Let me turn distortion off. Like that. And then you go to the 12th fret on the B. And then you hammer onto the 15th fret B. Pull off back to the 12th fret B. And then you go to the 14th fret on the G string, unbent. So. Okay, so. And then you kind of repeat that. So hammer on, pull off. Okay, so. And then once you kind of get the speed up with it. And it's kind of like it's kind of an up and down kind of thing with your right hand. So up and down, up and down. So that lick, I absolutely love that lick. It's one of my favourite things to do on guitar because I love the way it sounds. I've been obsessed with it forever, since I started playing guitar actually. And it's mainly Slash and Mike McCready who made me want to do that lick because it's just so cool. So yeah, but again, like starting off slow. So that's my kind of like number one Mike lick there. I love that one. The next one I want to show you is one that he did. It was when Pearl Jam were on tour in the UK. They did a TV show called The Tonight Show. I think it was called The Tonight Show. Jeff Buckley was on there as well. Could be wrong. But he does this lick, and I've only ever seen him do it once, but it's absolutely amazing. And it's kind of the same as that one, with a slight variation, which is this. So it's really awesome. So what you're doing, again, you're bending up the 14th fret on the G, Yeah. So you're bending up. Yeah, sorry, I just had to double check. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So bending up the 14th fret on the G string, and then you go down to the 12th fret on the high E. And then you go to the 15th fret on the B, and then you pull off to the 12th fret on the B. And then you go back to the 14th fret on the G, and then you go back down to the high E string on the 12th fret. Yeah. Yeah, go back down to the high E string on the 12th fret, and then you hammer onto the 15th fret high E, pull off, 15th fret B, and then you finish up on the 12th fret high E. And it's super cool when you do it fast. So, I hope that made sense, people with Tube. Like I say, let me just do it really slow. Okay. So, that's another really cool mic lick. I've only seen him do it once, but I'm sure he does do it more. But that's another lick. Another one is this one, which is super cool. So again, you're starting. These are all in the key of E, by the way. So starting on the 12th fret on the high E, and then you're going up to the 15th fret on the B. Pull off to the 12th fret B, and then you finish up on the 14th fret on the G. Okay, so we've got that one. This one. And super cool. And then you've got this one as well, which is really, really cool. So basically you're barring the 15th fret on the B and high E string. And then you're kind of like, it's kind of like a repeat of that lick we just learned, but a little bit different. So start on the 15th fret high E, and then you hammer on from the 15th fret on the B to the 17th fret B, pull off, and then you finish up on the 16th fret on the G. Oh, sorry, I do apologise actually. You start on the 15th fret high E, and then you go to the 17th fret B, pull off to the 15th fret B, and then you finish up on the 16th fret G. Sorry, everyone. Super cool. Another one he does is this. This is kind of more of a modern mic lick. This is kind of one he does. He did kind of like in the last couple of years, which is basically you're playing the 15th fret on the high E, 14th fret high E, and 12th fret on the high E, but you're kind of tremolo picking it, and you're kind of dragging your fingers off. So it's and you can kind of alter how you play that. It doesn't have to be, which is more kind of Kirk Hammett kind of style. Mike will kind of do something like this. So that's another lick of Mike's, which is really, really cool. What else have we got? We've got kind of really cool bends, like, you know, if you're bending up the center, which is always really good fun. What else have we got? Let's think. I've got unison bends as well. So, if you don't know what a unison bend is, basically what it is it's kind of like this. What you're doing is you're bending up the B string to meet the same note as the high E string. So the high E string is fretting an E note here on the 12th fret. And you're going to bend up the 15th fret on the B string to make that note. But you're going to keep that note at the same time. So you get that kind of doubling effect, if you will. Mike does that a lot. Okay, so that's really cool. Unison bending is all over Mike's playing. I love that. It's so cool. Trying to think if there's anything else to do. Like I say, he's just a very emotive guitarist, Mike is. You know what I mean? Like, his technique is really, really good. I do apologise about my phone. His technique is really good. His tone is always really, really good. He knows... He just gets lost in it. You know what I mean? There's no thinking involved when he plays, and you can see it. And it's so important, that is. And that's one of the things I love so much about him, is the fact you can just tell he's just lost. He's in that moment. There is nothing else going on. It's him in that moment, and it's just so cool. He messes with his selector switch as well, something rotten as well. You can see him messing with it all the time. And he's mainly neck and bridge pickup kind of guy. He doesn't really use the middle. He will use position 2 and 4 on his Stratocaster, but it's mainly kind of like a lot of kind of like, you know, bridging thing. But things like Yellow Ledbetter, for instance, are these 2 pickups, and stuff like, you know, other songs like I Am Mine are these 2, and, you know, it's all sorts really. I'm trying to think if there's any other really cool Mike McCready licks that are kind of things like... I mean, you can... Oh, there's another one here. This is really cool. And this one actually kind of goes really nicely into this. So you can kind of go... So this one's really cool. So you're barring the 12th fret on the B and high E. And you start off on the 15th fret on the high E. And you pull off to the 12th fret high E. And you play then the B string on the 12th fret. And then you want to reach up to the 17th fret and do the same thing. You can also do the 14th as well. So yeah, anyway, that's just like a little section of my favourite kind of Mike McCready licks, if you will. They're all really fast ones, but I really, really like them. And again, they're just super cool. Super, super cool. Anyway, people, let me move you back over there and let's do a bit more yammering on. And then I'm going to do an outro, Jan. Okay, so yeah, so again, I do have a horrific feeling that this video is totally rubbish. But what's new there? But I hope there's been something in it. Like I said, I'm going to try and do more of these videos on my heroes. Like, you know, I'm going to try and do one on Rory and how I got into Rory, how I found him. You know, kind of like some of the things I've taken from his playing. I'm going to do one on Jimmy, obviously one on John at some point, Peter, Kurt Cobain, people like that. You know, and some other guitarists like Paul Kossoff. I want to do more of these kind of videos where I can talk about them, how I got into them, and also show you kind of some of my favourite licks of them and how I've incorporated them into my own kind of style, so to say. So yeah, but like I say, Mike, over the last couple of days, really analysing this, which is something I don't normally do. I can't believe how much I've taken from this man. It's so cool. Like, you know, I've always wondered. You know, I always say Jimi Hendrix and John Frusciante are my biggest influences, but I do have to change that now. I do feel that Mike is above Jimmy. I really do have to feel that. And like I say, listening to that 2000 Mile Blues, which was definitely the turning point for me, made me go, yeah, Mike's right up there with John. So John Frusciante and Mike McCready are my biggest influences, definitely. So yeah, mad really, people of you. But anyway, I hope this video has been somewhat informative. I hope there's been something in there that, like, you know, you can take away. And like I say, I've kind of spoke a bit about Mike's gear, of what he uses. He kind of like uses everything. You know, he has used everything over the years. But like I say, guitar-wise, he's mainly a Strat guy, Les Paul guy. You know, he's got his 60s Strat. He's got his 59 Les Pauls. I think he's got 2 now. He's got one with pickup covers and one without. You know, there's that kind of like, you know, classic rockness to Mike. And the way he plays is just so cool. And I just love the ways he is on stage and the way he moves. And it's just ace. I just love the man. He's so cool. And like I say, I would love to meet him at some point. Not going to happen, but, you know, one can dream. I did actually get to see them live. I got to see them live at the MEN Arena in Manchester in sometime. 2009. Yeah, 2009. I got to see them at the MEN. That's where I got this hoodie from. And it was just like so cool. And they did Black that night. And I was nearly in tears because of Mike's solo. Because he extends it. They always extend Black. And that song is so meaningful to me, Black is. It's up there. It's not as high as Scar Tissue, because scar tissue, obviously what scar tissue means to me, but black's very close. It really is so close to scar tissue. It really means a lot to me, that doesn't. It's the story of my life, and I'm sure a lot of people's lives, you know, especially that last verse. You know, it really, you know, one day if the world ever reopens, I want the lyrics of Black on my left arm, especially that last verse. I know someday you have a beautiful life, that bit. I want that tattooed on me, to be honest with you. Because it just means the world to me, and it's been the story of my life. So that is kind of like really important to me, that song, and you know. And like I say, that version in 1992, when Mike kicks on that wah pedal and he bends up that 17th fret on his high E string on his Strat, and he just goes for it. It just, every time, it just makes a lump in the throat, the eyes start to water, and all these emotions just flood to me. And it's just like, it's such an overwhelming thing. And every time I play Black, it just nearly gets me into tears, just because, not through my playing, just through the song's subject matter. You know, and I got to thank Eddie Vedder for the lyrics, because they're just gorgeous, and Stone for the music, and Mike for the solo. It's such a gorgeous song, such a gorgeous song. It really is. I love it, and it really means the world to me. That song does, like I say, just because of what I've been through in my life, and you know, that kind of thing. It really strikes no pun intended, but it strikes a chord with me. But like I say, yeah. So I spoke about kind of like, yeah, how I found Mike. It wasn't an immediate thing. Spoke about kind of like, you know, some of the licks that I love of his, kind of like some of his gear, touched on that. They've just released his signature, Fender have just released a signature Strat of his, which is like 15 grand. Well, I think it's 13 grand in the UK, but it's like $15,000 or something like that, and £13,000 in the UK. I don't know any Pearl Jam fans who can afford that. I'm not being funny, but that's a bit silly. Anyway, and, you know, when I saw it, I was like, oh, amazing, I wonder how much... There was part of me that kind of hoped. It was a very slim hope, and it got dashed very quickly. But it's kind of like, you know, meh. So, such is life. Anyway, life moves on. You can't afford all these things. But it's just a collector's piece. But unfortunately, I don't know many Pearl Jam fans who are going to buy it. It's going to be kind of like some rich guy who's going to put it keep it in his case in pristine condition, never look at it, never play it, just let it increase in value. And it's like, well, that's not the point of that. You should go to a Mike McCready fan or a Pearl Jam fan, you know, for them to use and play and enjoy. But the thing is, it's like, you know, for 13 grand, you could buy a refinished original for that. Anyway, moving along. But yeah, it's cool that Fender have finally done something to acknowledge Mike, definitely. But I wish they could have done something else. You know, could they have done like a Mexican Road Worn version of it that might put it into a realms of possibility for people like us? You know, I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, all I know is, you know, I'm happy that Fender have finally acknowledged Mike. If you don't know Mike McCready, go look up Pearl Jam. Look Mike McCready's guitar solos. They are insane. He is an insane guitarist. He's a gorgeous guitarist. He's just full of feel. Absolutely full of feel. Amazing, 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 amazing. And if you get a chance, watch Pearl Jam Live, Pink Pop, 92, Black. It gets me every time. Thinking about it gets me, to be honest with you. Anyway, like I say, I just love that song anyway. It means the world to me, as I'm sure it doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people out there. So anyway, but yeah, so I spoke about gear a little bit. You know, I'd be here all day explaining what Mike's used and what he hasn't used. You know, there's not much he hasn't used, to be honest with you. You know, his guitars, mainly Strat, Les Paul guy, Telecasters as well. He does have a Gretsch. I've seen him with all sorts, but mainly, you know, Flying V's. Although his main Flying V was an Ibanez for a long time, which is quite cool. But anyway, another story. Yeah, how I got into him is, like I say, his influence on me is insane. It's big. It really is. I never realised until I really started to analyse it over the last couple of days how big his influence on me is. It's insane, people who tube. I was shocked, actually. Because I always ranked Mike below Jimi Hendrix. I always went John Frusciante, Jimi Hendrix, Mike McCready. And he has to go second. He has to go second on my influences. It has to be John Frusciante, Mike McCready, Jimi Hendrix. It has to be that way from now on. So if I ever say it again, tell me off, people who tube. Say, Dave! Stop it! That's from now on, okay? But hopefully I'll remember. But I'm a bit of an idiot, so who knows. But anyway, people with tube. So I'm going to do a little bit of an outro jam now. I hope there's been something in this video. I hope it's kind of made some kind of sense. And, you know, I hope it's kind of like demonstrated how much I love this man. He's a big influence on me, and you know, I really appreciate him and what he does, and it's just so, his guitar playing is so meaningful to me and stuff like that. So Mike, if you ever see this, I love you very much, and thank you so much indeed for your influence. So, you know, your influence and your input on my guitar playing over the years, it's never lost on me. I really appreciate it so much. So, I just always failed to mention you, and that is an absolute failing on my part, and I do apologise immensely for that. Because, yeah, I'm an idiot, basically. Anyway, I'm going to go People Tube. Like I say, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video's been okay, and I'm going to play you out now with a bit of stratting. So, yeah, I'll see you again, People Tube. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and goodbye now. Thank you very much indeed. I hope this video's been okay. I'm terrified.